And Molly, what are you seeing there right now?
Well, Morgan, actually right now we just had another piece of this heavy equipment move in. We mentioned the last time we talked to you that giant crane that's coming in. Now a second truck has come in as well with another piece of that crane. They'll at some point move that in closer to the train that is derailed and try to use that to help stabilize the situation over there and get any of the debris picked up that they can as they move forward with this investigation. Now, you mentioned the injured. We got word just a short time ago within the last half hour from Harborview that 3 male patients have been transferred up to Harborview for care, one of them in critical condition, the other 2 in serious. And we can show you this map of all the different hospitals that took in injured from the derailment today. On that map, you also see Madigan Army Hospital. That's where we find Como's Michelle Esteban. Michelle, what can you tell us?
Molly, we'll throw it back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you. Indeed, our hearts go out to all the families that are dealing with this incredibly stressful and emotional situation right now. We know that those hospitals train for these events, these mass casualties like this. And as Michelle pointed out, many hospitals in our region are being put to the test now today. And in fact, also local jurisdictions around here go through training to respond to something like a train derailment. And they just did that last week here in Pierce County because of the inaugural run of this train starting today. So Mary and Morgan, we'll send it back to you in the studio. There is a lot to be done here still. Not expecting I-5 to be open any sooner than tomorrow morning.
Molly, Shen kicks off our live team coverage from Pierce County. And just a few minutes ago, Molly, you saw heavy machinery coming in to help clear that scene.
Right, Mary, and it's still here in a staging pattern. Let me just show you our vantage point of that derailed train still hanging precariously from that overpass just south of where we're standing. It is a stunning sight, and it's hardly changed in the 8.5 hours since it happened, other than all this heavy machinery that's now coming in to try to stabilize things down there. But that will also be an incredibly long process. They've brought in a giant crane in addition to all the machinery that you can see down on I-5 right now. This will continue to take some time. Como's Lee Stoll is here with me as well. Lee, you got here to the scene just shortly after the derailment happened. What can you tell us? You've been listening to the latest there from the State Patrol talking about exactly what happened here and what we know. I want to revisit the number of casualties, fatalities that we've had, because that's been something that has been in flux. And you heard Trooper Bova there saying that information needs to come from the State Patrol. We had information from an official in Pierce County earlier today that 6 people were confirmed dead. The State Patrol is only able to confirm 3 deaths, and so that will be the official death toll number right now. The stunning number that 100 or so people were transported to the hospital, and she said a lot of them in critical condition. So that's something that we'll be staying on top of as well as we learn just a little bit more about those injuries and hopefully get the good news that people are able to recover and being released from the hospital. Also, you heard them talking about just what an incredibly dangerous situation this was and still is with those rail cars precariously hanging from the overpass still. First responders going in and doing the work that had to be done to get those 100 people off of that train and to those area hospitals. They were triaged just right here on I-5 and then taken to the hospitals all around this region. Of course, a lot of the questions that you heard as well were about the investigation. It is very early for us to know what caused this horrific derailment, but that's where the questions are. We all want to know why this happened. They did mention, I believe I heard them say that some people from the NTSB have arrived here. Como's Keith Eldridge has been on the scene throughout the day as well and is tracking the latest on the investigation. Keith, what can you tell us?
We have team coverage across the region. Como's Molly Shen is anchoring our coverage live from the scene with the very latest. Molly?
And Mary and Morgan, those 3 people who you mentioned confirmed dead. The State Patrol also tells us that as many as 100 people were seen by medics and taken to one of half a dozen hospitals around us here. Now, take a look behind me and you can see that they've lit up the scene here. We're just one overpass north of where that train derailed, and it still hangs from that overpass over I-5. All kinds of heavy machinery is staging on I-5. Not only what you're able to see here from our vantage point, but even when I look out the other direction, I see some additional trucks lined up. It is quite a job that they have to do here to move in and try to get that car stabilized, those cars stabilized, and get those train cars off of the overpass and off of the freeway. This has been going on now for more than 10 hours. Como's Lee Stoll was one of the first reporters on the scene. She arrived just a short time after it happened. Let's check in with Lee now for more on her perspective of this incredible day. Lee, thanks very much. It really is remarkable the number of reinforcements that are still coming in to get this all cleared up here on I-5. Pretty incredible indeed. We're hearing some amazing stories of survival out of this as well. I want to check in with Kristen Drew right now, who's in Puyallup. Kristen, I understand that you spoke with a Good Samaritan who helped out at the scene.
Their thoughts are with all of the people who lost loved ones. We're live in Puyallup tonight. I'm Kristen Drew, Como News.
Boy, as are all of our thoughts. Kristen, thank you very much. Incredible the way they jumped in. We're also hearing from some people who survived it. We heard him describe it, the Good Samaritan describe it as looking like war around him, a war zone. And that's the type of stories we're also hearing from people who experienced it. One person said today that it looked like it was just the end of the world when she climbed out of the train car. Want to check in with Como's Suzanne Fawn, who is at DuPont City Hall, which served as a reunification center for people who survived the accident and were able to try to head home without having to go to a hospital. And Suzanne, you're hearing some amazing stories tonight. Michelle, thanks very much. Mary and Morgan, we talk about that training they do for mass casualties. They do that training at hospitals. First responders go through the training as well for situations like this. They hope to never put it into practice, but it has been put into practice throughout our region today.
All right, Molly, thank you very much.
We're going to go back out and live now to Como's Molly Shen with the very latest from the scene. Molly.
Morgan and Mary, 11 hours now since that train derailed, and it is still a very active scene behind me. Take a look. You can still see the train itself dangling off that overpass over I-5. And I've been telling you for several hours now about all the heavy machinery that's been pulling in to try to stabilize and remove those train cars. We are still seeing that happen. More flatbed trucks, tow trucks, large crane pieces coming in with quite the job still ahead tonight. Como Steve McCarran is also here on the scene with another vantage point and tracking the latest information about what happened today. Steve?
Back to you, Molly.
All right, Steve, thanks very much. You mentioned that GO team from the NTSB being here on site, and we know their investigation will take some time, but we also know that one of the things they'll be looking at is speed. Was speed a factor in this crash as that train rounded a curve and then came here across I-5? Speed had been raised as a concern about this brand new high-speed train service between Seattle and Portland before this morning's inaugural run. In fact, Lakewood's mayor raised his concerns that it could even lead to deaths. Como's Kara Kostanich is live at Lakewood City Hall with more on that tonight. Kara? All right, Kale, thanks very much. And back live out here in DuPont, where we wait for new word on both the process of getting I-5 reopened, cleaning up all of the debris and getting the train cars off of the overpass, and also any new word on that investigation. We understand that the next media briefing will be at 8 o'clock tonight. We will, of course, be here to get all that information for you. Mary and Morgan, I wanted to mention I did speak briefly with Governor Jay Inslee earlier today, and while we talked about the investigation and the first responders who came out here and so bravely did their work, his main point that he wanted to get across to people was it was time to just put your arms around fellow Washingtonians and support them in a time of great devastation. And that is what we've seen out here today. It's quite the tragedy that's played out behind us here on I-5.
Absolutely, Molly. Thank you very much.
Right. The official word from Harborview is that man is a 30-year-old in critical condition, and they say at this time his injuries are considered life-threatening. So that is a very sad turn of events, a sad update for us after having been told that initially, the word had been that the injuries were minor, but Harborview says that the injuries are considered life-threatening. The female officer, who is 42 years old, is listed in satisfactory condition, so that part has not changed. But the male officer, age 30, critical condition, injuries are life-threatening. So you see the officers standing outside Harborview. They will be there as long as he is there. They're there to comfort one another, to comfort the family when they arrive, to show the public that one of their own is inside, and they won't leave as long as he's there. Not only will they be stationed outside, but more significantly inside. As long as an officer shot in the line of duty is inside Harborview, there will be other officers, whether it's from SPD or other departments, who come by to show support as well. They will be there as long as he is.
And so our coverage of this situation at Harborview right now.
Mayor Ed Murray tweeting out something that you heard him say live on our air just moments ago, saying that our thoughts are with the Seattle Police Department officers injured in today's shooting. And he's reiterating that this remains an active crime scene downtown and asks that people steer clear of the area. While they have reopened 2nd between Spring and Columbia, the other streets in that area do remain closed. And you can see in the live pictures why. There's still quite a police presence there. Not only do they need to go methodically through that building and clear out the people who are sheltering in place, but just the vehicles just take up, physically a lot of room. And so they've got those intersections closed for some time still. So it is still an active crime scene, even though 2nd is open and some traffic will be getting through and some transit will be getting through. They want people to stay out of there unless you absolutely have to be in that area. Primarily, that road being open should help some people who are free to go get out of the downtown core and let officers have all the room and the space that they need to do their jobs. Okay, great. Joel, thank you very much. Yes, Ann Newcomb is the clinical director of emergency services there at Harborview Medical Center. So obviously, as she takes the time she needs to get the information that she can share with us, we'll look forward to being able to hear from her, and we'll get back to Harborview just as soon as we can. In the meantime, we're taking you back to the live pictures downtown Seattle. The police tape's still up, the huge presence of officers there as well as they go through this building where a suspect had gone inside and been holed up for some time. They still have people sheltering in place. This has been going on for well over an hour now, and it is quite the procedure to go through and make sure that building is safe and get people cleared out. Morgan Chesky is joining me here on the set now as well. Morgan, this has really been something to see as it's unfolded today. Very chaotic, a lot of information coming in fast. A breakthrough moment for Seattle. 1,344 days after drilling began, Bertha's job is finished, and our city has a tunnel underneath it. Bertha's journey was long and costly, but tonight it is finally over.
That's right, the tunnel boring machine.
Bellingham police are asking if anyone can help identify the man who walked into a home and got into bed with a woman last month. Officers released this sketch today. They say it happened early in the morning on March 18th in a home on Billy Frank Jr. Street, just north of Western Washington University. He took off when the woman started screaming. The victim described him as a white man around 20 years old, 6 foot, 200 pounds, with short, light brown hair. She could smell alcohol and heavy cologne. He wore a gray hoodie, jeans, and a black flat-brimmed baseball hat, possibly with stars on that cap. And do you recognize this man? Linwood police say he robbed a bank this afternoon. It happened around 12:30 at the Banner Bank at the Alderwood Mall. Police say he's about 5'8" and might have had a mustache. If you have any information, call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. Children are supposed to make yearly visits to the pediatrician to make sure they're healthy. Now, the doctor might have some new questions for mom and dad about what parents are posting on Facebook. It's part of the expanding role of a pediatrician.
One more.
Dr. Elizabeth Mead makes sure Camden's heart and lungs sound healthy and that he's right where he should be for his age. Camden recently celebrated his 4th birthday, an event his mom marked on Facebook.
We don't have family that's all here in Washington, and so it's just a quick and easy way to get that information out. I don't pick up the phone and call relatives all the time, and I know they're on social media.
That social media sharing might come up at your next well child check.
Is that something that you're doing at all?
We do.
Dr. Mead says it's important for pediatricians to talk to parents about what they post online. It's part of keeping kids safe and healthy.
Everything that we're putting on there about our kids, is that something that they're going to want to have out in the internet for all to see forever? And that's really the way we have to think about posting things, is that that lives there in that space forevermore.
She recommends parents read privacy settings on the sites they use and be particularly careful with medical information, full names, and birth dates.
There's identity theft, even of children, and then there's this new phenomenon of sort of digital kidnapping, where people are actually taking photos of other people's children and posting them as if they were their own kids.
He likes to watch certain things on YouTube. Right now he's probably watching marble mazes.
Aaron already monitors Camden's screen time and knows someday he'll want his own social media profile. In the meantime, she decides what gets shared online, with some advice from the doctor. And another tip from Dr. Mead, set a Google alert with your child's full name. That way, if someone else posts something, you should find out about it.